Segueing now to online services in terms of how Amazon and Walmart are dealing with the repercussions of when consumers buy their products, and if it's not to their liking, that they have to return it. And if you think about it, if you have lots of customers, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of consumers, that they have to return those items, whether for legal reasons, legitimate or illegitimate reasons, it creates a lot of waste. And I think we've discussed this in the past, wherein, what Amazon does, if there are a lot of return items, they just throw it as trash. So a lot of wastage is created, which is, can see how Jeff Bezos is advocating for environmentalism, being environmentally friendly, if their products are, creating a lot of waste. And obviously, this doesn't just affect the consumers, and there's always opportunity to create another business for those resellers. And obviously, the sellers themselves don't want to shoulder the cost of getting the items back so that they can resell it again. So they're just thrown away as as waste, as mentioned. Anyway, so according to the article here at cnet.com, return online buys burns fuel and fill the dump. Here's what could change. So ordering from Amazon or Walmart, one of the biggest online retailers in the world, the benefit of ordering online is tremendous. So you get to buy items conveniently, but obviously there are instances, especially if you're buying wearable items, clothes, shoes, and so forth. If it doesn't fit well, obviously, if it's not ideal, you want to exchange it for the right size. Let's say if you're medium, you ordered small, or if it's too small, you want to order a larger size, and so forth. So let's take a closer look here. So even though online shopping during the holidays has generated record sales for the companies, obviously it creates a lot of what do you call this? A flip side to those that the or was it? Yes, returns that it creates. So even though it's considered a normal aspect of retail, of doing business, but obviously in online it creates a lot of backlog, and the logistics, and considering how the logistics supply chain logistics currently is being dealt a blow with access, with the rise of COVID cases, or with the Omicron cases, and so forth. So creates a lot of difficulty in transporting goods and services here. So during the online shopping has supercharged the process, because consumers often plan to return some of the goods that they buy. So that's particular for clothing, as mentioned here. So the mindset contributes to an estimated rate of return for online purchase that's as much as 5 times higher than for brick and mortar. So obviously the advantage of having a online business creates this scenario of, if I can be at the retail store and try out the clothes themselves, and if it's not to my liking or to exactly my fit, then I want to return it. And obviously I don't want to shoulder that cost, and that cost will be passed on to the company themselves. Now, does it weigh the pros of selling more revenue online versus the cost of of returns? Is it feasible, or is it a cost benefit? Does it outweigh the cost versus the benefit of it? So here an example, a company, Optoro, a company that manages return for online retailers. They mentioned here the retailers told that the National Retail Federation, they expect to see 158 billion of merchandise returned from online and in-person holiday, a 56% increase from the year before. So you can see it's a pretty significant dilemma that companies have to deal with, and obviously a lot of returns should be avoided or minimized, and find ways to mitigate that. Otherwise, it's a lot of wastage or loss of revenue that's being turned into waste here. I can also see here UPS expects to handle more than 60 million holiday returns this season alone. So that's pretty big if you think about it. So the issue here is the bottom line. Even though allowing returns can increase customer loyalty, which is a great service for your customers, the companies don't want the returns to eat up too much of their revenues, which is reasonable, so to speak. So the question here is, if there are more online returns, there's more waste. So what are the solutions here? Now, obviously, if you're selling clothing items, so it makes sense to provide exact measurements of your shirts or clothing items so people would know, so they can measure themselves in terms of, let's say, the length of the shirt, the width of the shirts, the sleeves, and so forth. So it can be easier for consumers. That's why I prefer to buy on the actual store so I can fit it. So in this case, I'm wearing a Uniqlo shirt, so I know if I'm a small, medium, large, or an XL. So in for future references, I can automatically easily say, oh, if I'm large size or XL, I could just buy it online. It's easier. But I have to do the trial and error myself, and obviously, the cost of traveling and engaging going to the store, which is can be risky, especially nowadays. It would be more beneficial if the information is provided online, so it makes it easier for consumers to make the necessary measurements, so to speak. Here, it mentions here, Optoro estimates about 5 or 6 billion pounds of goods returned to all retailers in the United States end up in a landfill in a year. So imagine that the returns are not being recycled, so to speak, which I think that those companies has the responsibility to do that rather just throw it out, right? So find ways to recycle those items and can create another segment of business for the companies here, which is it's a missed opportunity here. And obviously for Amazon and Walmart here, it makes sense for them because it saves a lot of cost. But imagine throwing a brand new iPhone because there's just a scratch, so they have to throw it away. So who do you blame here? The company that allows it to be thrown as waste, or the company themselves who sells the product through that platform, and knowing that if those products are returned, they will just be thrown as waste. So I mean, everyone's at fault here, should be responsible to a higher standard. And obviously, a return ending up in the dump is an environmental worst case scenario. I think that's a given here. So obviously, finding alternative ways to mail returns is important here, but obviously it's going to create more hassle for the consumers here. So it's a debate in terms of, should I put in more effort, or there should be a better way for both business and consumers to benefit if there are fewer returns here in the long run here.